Just to remind everybody that language usage and content that we provide here may be disturbing, disgusting, probably will be and should be. Words like bloody custard and words that rhyme with that may be featured. Actually will be featured. In fact, perhaps will only be featured. Just warning you. Yes, this show is brought to you by Wow Tables and iWape.in.
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
Okay, it's called Cyrus Says, and I have a very important question for the day to all males, because only males have that genitalia down there, as far as I know. Of course, I can't speak for all females. But I've noticed one very strange thing that happens in toilets and urinals across India, and that is people have started taking messages and talking while they pee simultaneously. I'm a little worried about this habit for the simple reason that they touch themselves at the right place and then again use the phone, and then before the washing happens, the hand sort of goes from the phone back to the little thing below the phone. And I'm a little worried about the hygiene involved here, because I think that while you do wash yourself and keep yourself clean, what about your phone? How are you going to take care of that phone? Sooner or later somebody else is going to touch that phone. 87% of all diseases in India are caused because of this urinal misbehavior and lack of hygiene. So people, if you're going to use a phone, put it on speakerphone, keep it far away, pee and talk loudly like we do all across India. It's called Cyrus Says.
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
Yes, we talked to Siddharth Vaze on Cyrus Says. He's a man who's made history by being a general manager of many famous hotels in New York and other parts of America and never stealing the toiletries. He's also going to tell us about his new ventures, how he promotes soft skills in corporate training, and above all, his greatest venture, probably his life's mission, which is to find great sporting talent through his new venture, which he will discuss. And all you have to do is send us a check for 51 rupees and you're part of the game.
Cyrus Says we have other shows too. You should check them out.
Hello, this is Lakshmi Bomb, forced, abducted, and absolutely kidnapped into the studios with Made in India with May, and here we are on India's only indie music podcast.
Made in India is India's first indie music podcast hosted by May Thomas. You can find it on indusvox.com or subscribe to it on your favorite podcasting app.
All right, it's called Cyrus Says, and we've got some very special, good-looking women in the audience today, which you can't see because it's a podcast and it's all audio. So, eat your head out. Not head, not heart. With me, actually, is Siddharth Vaze. Now, Siddharth, when I say your name, because you're the guest for the day, we play spontaneous music, all right? Which you will not hear because I haven't played it in yet. But pretend it's coming as I say your name, and you'll just get that whole feel of, being a special man on a special show.
Like a drum roll.
A little more than that, yeah. We have, the one thing we have is stock footage. All right, here it is. Siddharth Vaze, our guest for the day. Siddharth, how do you feel? Feeling good?
I feel extremely excited to be here, Cyrus. Thank you
so
much.
You are now on the lowest interview format in the history of mankind. From here, all you can do is go up, believe me. Siddharth, let me just quickly describe you and your life. You're a wonderful man who wears clothes to begin with. You have a very fancy watch. You wear Keds to work, which I like. And you've got a huge body of work. You started in the hotel business, was fairly senior. And at a time when most people would have cashed in on all their hard work in the catering and hotel line, you changed track, left the lovely country of America, and moved to the beautiful hygienic country of India, where animals and human beings live side by side, sometimes eating each other, sometimes because there's religious differences, not. So please tell us your journey in less than 30 seconds. I hate to sound like Arnab Goswami, but you have that much time to answer all 100 questions. Go ahead.
Absolutely, Cyrus. Thank you so much. I actually went to hotel school in Bangalore. I transferred my credits in 2001 to go to school in Providence in Rhode Island next to Boston.
You even got that Providence accent when you say it. Providence. I picked that up. Apparently you have part Punjabi blood also, right?
Very, very minute, but yes, somewhere in
because
the
I noticed that in Delhi, they do this. They tend to take the American word in American slang. They speak the rest in the Desi, sort of lingo, and then just the American word. Providence, New Jersey. Have you heard that?
I have heard that, and I get made fun of all the time because my mother is very disappointed after spending 15 years in the US that I haven't really picked up an American accent. People go there for vacations and they come back in 2 weeks and they've got an American accent.
Why don't you have an accent? Can you try? Can you put on something?
Absolutely. I can try and turn it on.
Please. Just for the sake of it just makes people think that we have a more sophisticated setup if you sound foreign. So go ahead.
Okay, so the next couple of sentences are going to be in American accent, if that works for you.
This sounds more like my 4-year-old after watching a program on TV. What the hell is this? Give me an authentic. You spent 15 years there. You didn't pick up the accent?
I think the best way for me to be authentic there was to try not to have too much of an accent, because people, again, were just amazed that I spoke that good English coming from India.
But Siddharth, when you went to the brothels, how would you ask for things? Without the accent, they don't respect you.
It's all technology based now,
you
Cyrus.
just press buttons.
Exactly.
And then they press your buttons. Whatever gets you off. Siddharth, I've been interrupting you. The whole idea was that you climbed from hotel and catering in, where was it, in Bangalore?
In Bangalore, correct.
And you went in and sort of reversed your credits or exchanged them with an American program.
I actually transferred my credits so that I got a degree.
So reverse is absolutely the wrong word to use.
Absolutely. It's actually upgraded my credits.
There you go. Yeah.
So I went to school in Providence.
Again?
Yeah, exactly.
Again with the Providence. Providence.
Providence.
How sweet. That's fair. Get you to Boston?
Boston.
Wow. New York?
No, New York is New York.
No, the York happened. Clearly, this is an audio thing. People will pick it up immediately. See, when I say it like to a good Indian, it's New York.
New York.
And when you say it's like New York.
New York.
There you go. There you go. Okay, I won't keep asking you, but one last one. New Jersey?
New Jersey.
Hey, ooh, fantastic. All right, go ahead. So you transferred the credits?
Yeah, went to hotel school in Providence, like I was telling you earlier.
God, he said it again. Yeah. I won't be able to get through this interview. We have to move further. No more geographical references.
Okay, went to school. I managed
Where was
hotels.
This exactly?
This magical place,
Yeah.
about an hour and a half outside of Boston.
Okay.
And it was a university called Johnson and Wales.
Okay, now just to digress for a second,
of course.
Although I'm very fond of all marine life, whales included, you entered in 2001 around September 11th, and
Correct. I actually landed in the States on September 1st, 2001, which
Right.
was exactly 10 days before September 11th happened.
Right.
And again, I was just about getting used to a completely new country. I didn't know a soul in the States. Mm-hmm. And 10 days later, we were suddenly, class was cancelled. We were pulled out into the common room.
Right.
And suddenly on TV, we saw, what the rest of the world saw.
I must say, not to make light of the situation, but your accent is picking up. Okay. And for me, I can see the ratings because we have this little software program which tells us how many people are actually tuning in, and it's just going through the roof.
Amazing.
They think you're a genuine Americano.
I'll try and keep this going as long as I can.
Just don't become Mexican in the middle. It slips for some reason. I don't know. I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I'm just saying that off the record.
Got it.
All right. So you went to Boston. You started doing this stuff, doing the school stuff, and you fitted in. Everything was good. And then you started working there.
Correct.
And go on.
I actually worked my way through college working in an Indian restaurant.
Did you have a girlfriend?
Yes.
Was she American?
No, she wasn't.
Where was she from?
She was actually Filipino.
Wow, I love you, man. You're my dream guy. You've got the accent. You can say Providence. You got a fancy Filipino girlfriend in another country. Wow, everything's working good. What happened?
Well, I mean, I graduated. She didn't want to move, and I was looking for life to be much more exciting.
You wanted an Indian housewife to serve and look after you and clean your feet and things like that.
No, absolutely not. But
was she hot?
Of course.
Can you show us pictures?
No, I
Can you call her on your mobile phone and make it breathe deeply just so that people know that it's all true? I'm sorry, Siddharth. I'm sorry. I'm just a sick man. We'll get back to your life. So you then climbed the catering sort of ladder.
Yes, the hotel management ladder, as they like to call it. And I managed hotels in New Jersey. I managed hotels in New York.
Going through your background, it's a huge body of work, actually. I find it amazing that you shifted streams in the middle. But just about the hotel industry for a second. You were running New York Palace, is it?
Yes, the New York Palace Hotel.
Which is opposite the Waldorf, although you should never refer to it like that. It's like saying I live next to the Ambanis. It's wrong. Yeah. So
exactly.
Tell us a bit about that.
I mean, the New York Palace is probably definitely in the top 3 or the top 5 hotels in New York City.
So it's a 5-star?
It is a 5-star. It's actually a 5-star 5-diamond.
Is it related to our Taj Palace here in Bombay, Delhi?
It is not. It just, I guess, just the name.
Once again, we flicked the name, is it?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. So you're managing the New York Palace Hotel,
yes.
And you had told me before that it was run by or owned by the Sultan of Brunei.
Yes. So it's got a crazy history. The original building is over 100 years old.
Wow.
On top of that, they built about 55 stories.
See, this would never happen in Mumbai because we've got very strict rules at the BMC here. 100-year-old buildings come down very quickly. On their own, of course.
Exactly, on their own.
Go on, their structures are most solid.
Multiple owners. One of the most famous owners, apart from the Sultan of Brunei, was also Leona Helmsley.
Oh, the Helmsley Hotel.
The Helmsley
Why did they
Hotel.
change the name?
Well, I mean, after she died and she left millions to her dog, which is called Trouble.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
This is my favorite person now. You're no longer my favorite person. Miss Helmsley, who left all the money to her dog, is my favorite person, yes.
And they actually had a private plane and they had to hire bodyguards to protect the dog because he started getting death threats.
Oh, so sweet.
So, of course, the Sultan of Brunei and his brother stepped in and they bought the place.
And the dog.
Truthfully, I don't know what exactly what happened to the dog, but I'm sure he's well taken care of.
There you go. He's the second richest man in the world, the dog I'm talking about. Sultan of Brunei being the first. Depending on the markets, of course, Bill Gates will overtake him in 24 hours. So did you get to meet any of these big shots?
We did. I mean, we had literally a who's who staying at the hotel, right from celebrities to sports teams. We had heads of state. We had royal families from the Middle East.
Any remarkable incidents that you remember with any big shot celebrities?
Where do you want me to start, Cyrus?
Please tell us one or two.
So I know about your fascination with bakras.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with a really great goat story.
Oh God!
Okay.
Is it gruesome?
No, it's
this is a vegetarian show as far as I can see. Please.
But you said it's all over radio, so
Go ahead.
We'll just
with your accent, they'll forgive you anything.
So a couple of years ago, when I was the manager on duty, we get a call from a guest on the 45th floor of the building saying that there's some strange noises coming from the room next door. Now, I know that you've been around hotels and other public places for a while, so that could mean anything.
Right.
So me and a security officer, we go up to the suite, expecting it could be anything from an orgy to people fighting. to whatever. All the lights are turned off and the suite is completely dark. We walk in and there's complete silence. And, we're just looking at each other and we hear something from the bathroom. So we go into the bathroom and there's a full-fledged black and white goat with a beard tied to the faucet.
Why?
And that's exactly the question that me and the security officer...
bestiality kind of guy?
Thankfully not. Just then, two African-American guys walk in and they're like, what are you doing in our suite? And we said, don't worry about it. We work here. What is a goat doing in the bathtub in your hotel room? And they're like, well, it's our goat. We paid good money for it. And we're like, that's not even the point because we allow pets, but only dogs and cats and definitely no goats.
You have a racist policy as far as animals go. I take that. I note that for my attorney, but
long story short, this was during Ramadan.
Oh, they were going to...
And they were going to sacrifice the goat in the bathtub.
But my question to you here is, religious differences aside.
Lovely.
When I try to enter a 5-star hotel, all right, and I'm not a goat. I'm no beauty, but I'm not a goat. 800 people stop me. How come a guy could walk in with a goat, a bearded, big, black and white goat, in the middle of one of the most famous 5-star iconic hotels in the world, and nobody noticed? I mean, there's a lobby, there's CC cameras everywhere, there's probably elevators involved, another lobby involved. I mean, the front porch, how did he get in?
So the only way that we could figure out that they got it in was they drugged the goat, and they put it in one of their big trunks. And they were part of an international delegation that was actually staying with us.
Right. And those international guys have big trunks, no pun intended.
Yeah. and they were from Africa, so yes. Pun definitely intended.
I gotta warn you, your prejudices are coming out. I mean, there's religious, there's racist.
Well, you said trunks, so that's why I said Africa.
So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
So that's, how do you deal with situations such as that? Because you don't want to upset them at the same time.
Of course.
Technically, they're in the wrong.
Exactly. So, I mean, we said that, I'm sorry, but it's not allowed to be here. And after a little back and forth, you've seen the movie Hangover, right?
Of course.
So you have Mike Tyson, you have the tiger, and you have these three people in the elevator.
Not quite the same situation, because the tiger would have eaten the goat. Hence, there'd be no goat. Yeah.
Exactly. So picture me, security officer, two of these fine gentlemen, and a goat coming down in the elevator, walking through the lobby out into Midtown Manhattan.
Wow.
And thankfully, that was the last of the
That's one of those only in New York stories, I got to tell you. You really earned your place on our podcast. It's a lovely story. Amazing.
Thank you.
And were the guests, how do you deal with it? So you can't really shout to them or whatever. So how do you sort of...
No, you just tell them that, listen, these are the rules, and if you unfortunately
but
don't
if they're offended,
comply,
how would you handle the situation?
Well, it depends on the level of, how offended they are.
Would you say, I'll keep the goat at home, clean him and wash him and then, give him to you for a little while?
No, absolutely not. I mean, at the very most, we'd probably call, the SPCA or one of those fine animal volunteer groups that
who allow the animal to live for 24 hours before taking decisions. We'll take a quick break and then come back. Siddharth, of course, there's so much more to talk about, but I got stuck in a goat story. And as you know, when you get a goat story and a good one, you got to go with that. Absolutely. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back.
Cyrus says ad breaks are beneficial to your mental health.
This show is brought to you by Wow Tables. I spoke to Kunal and Deepa, the founders, about Wow Tables. Okay, now let's take you back to the history of Wow Tables and how you guys met.
Well, actually, Deepa was running a food business, and she also is the food lover. I just eat anything. Mm-hmm. We would go out once a week.
Very vulgar, but go ahead.
Well, we would go out, and we were married. So we were
I can
married
tell
at that
from the
point.
distance between you. And she's the food lover. And she still married you. To improve you. See, that's why women marry us. Kunal, what the hell? To improve you. Yeah, go on.
So in the process of improving me, I ended up creating a service that would help other couples and groups of friends discover new restaurants and also guide them into what to eat.
Eating different dishes every time you go out.
Visit wowtables.com to book an experience and use the code Cyrus Says to get 500 rupees off on your first reservation. I repeat, 500 rupees off. That's 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus another 100. Yeah, that's right.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Yes, still recovering from the Hangover original version, which was the goat in New York Palace Hotel, run by our very prestigious gentleman sitting opposite me, one and only Siddharth Vaze. But now, so you've achieved the pinnacle. You're like a GM. You're running different hotels. You've gone from one place to another, and now at the pinnacle of your career, you just walk out. So what happened? Did you have one of those fits where guy wakes up and says, "What am I doing with my life?" And then you start a religion, but you instead chose to do something far less, materialistic. Go ahead.
I think it was a combination of things, Cyrus. The intention.
What kind of pills were involved?
No artificial substances, all natural.
Oh, damn you.
But I truthfully, when I went to the States, I never intended on staying there for as long as I did. The intention always was to move back to India and do something here. My parents are here. I have an older sister here as well. But
15 years, you sort of, in that period of your life, and we know a lot of people like you, you make that change, cultural shift has happened and you're an American because 15 years, working years are there. So how did you suddenly decide?
I think one of the biggest things was I always felt that something was missing.
It property? It's always property, I tell you. It's always the property.
No property involved.
And not goats here, but real zameen, huh?
Well, you could say, Desh ki zameen and all that.
Come on, Desh ki zameen.
No, but truthfully...
That's why you left.
Yeah. Well, again, as I'm sure you know, the India that I left in 2001 was completely different from the India that I've come back to.
True.
And I'm sure you'll be one of the first people to agree
I
with
can't
that.
look back last week. Forget 2001. We don't have the research team available to help us with that. But yes, you're right. We're probably in a better place. Go ahead.
Exactly. And I wanted to move back. I wanted to start something on my own. I'm an extremely social person. And I always felt that there was something missing when I was in the States. Mm-hmm. And truthfully, the 8 years in New York is the longest that I've ever lived in one city.
Quickly, you're an army, you're a Fauji kid at the end of the day.
Correct.
So you basically, 3-4 years in different cities in your growing up years as well?
Absolutely. 3-4 years, every 3-4 years.
Where were you born?
So I was actually born in a place called Amravati.
Of course.
Yeah.
So from Amravati you went to?
So from Amravati we went to Jaipur. We were there for a couple of years. Okay. We went to another place called Babina, which is close to Jaipur. Mm-hmm. Then a bunch of years in Kalimpong, which is near Darjeeling.
Yeah, I know Kalimpong. I've been there. Yeah.
Lovely place. Some of my most.
But when I was there, there's not too much to do. But anyway.
But that was, I guess, part of the appeal.
Yeah.
And then another place called Chandrapur, which is near Nagpur. Mm-hmm. And then last couple of years.
That's like a really lazy naming, no? Yeah. When you just say Nagpur, Chandrapur bulayega, isko Jaipur bulayega. Come on, let's work a little harder.
That's like,
So no fixed address, huh?
No fixed. The only fixed address that I knew was Pune because my parents settled down there and my dad retired there.
Right.
So, and then Bangalore for a couple of years, and then of course your favorite, Providence.
Yeah, Providence, there you go. One for the road.
One for the road.
And then, of course, 8 years in New York is actually the longest time that Siddharth Vaze has been in any city, here or abroad.
Correct.
So in many ways, that you're a New Yorker then, because by law, that's mathematically your strongest suit. So we'll have to go with that.
And the funniest thing was when people used to ask me, where are you from? And I used to say, India. And they're like, but you've been in the States for 10 years. I don't think you can use India anymore. You need to say that you're from New Jersey or you're from New York.
There you go. And let me tell you something. Here's the irony. You come from India where they expect us to tell them goat stories, but you have to go to New York, which is now your number one city, and that's where you experience your only goat story. So that just proves it.
Listen, sometimes, the stars take you where they take you, man.
The world's turned on its head. New York is the goat stories. We don't have any goats anymore. All right, let's now move away from there to this epiphany that happened, or this switch that happened one day. So you're at the top of your career, like I've said 100 times, and then why would you change? Just a call from India? What happened?
So, like I said, I wanted to start something on my own. I wanted to come back closer to home. And I guess one of the most real things for me was every year when I used to visit, like every other good every other good Indian kid.
Yeah, they show you girls.
Yeah.
I love that.
A combination of that, and I saw my parents getting older.
Right.
And like
So what
say.
what you're saying is the girls played no part.
Well,
I mean, if
they may have played a small part, yes.
Siddharth, if I was an Indian kid abroad, I'd only come back to look at the girls. I would never commit. I'd be like, Daddy, show me some girls. I mean, this is the only time legally everybody can just ogle. Come, let's look at girls, son. Even he can. I mean, let's
seriously, I was going on coffee dates and lunch dates and dinner dates, but then I used to leave 2 weeks later and then never see anybody again.
But to take a car metaphor, you wouldn't get to test drive. You'd just go for coffee and it would be that, right?
Well, yes.
See, I didn't get to do the arranged market. My wife forced me to get married, and so I didn't have a chance. I really miss it. I wish I had. So what really happens, you think? Do you get to, sample the goods, if you may?
Well, again, it depends on what kind of girl you're.
A gentleman never tells, is that it? But you're smiling from year to year. And since you didn't get hitched and haven't got hitched yet, it is clear to me that you had an open season for a little while.
I did come close a few times, if that counts, but...
For sealing the deal?
The
good story put them off.
Exactly.
There you go.
I can't lead with that anymore, except with Cyrus on the Cyrus Says
You hit
show.
the high notes with me. I'm a happy man. So now you've come back and then you decided to go into totally different things. Corporate training for soft skills. What does that mean?
So essentially, I started a company that does corporate training. We work with corporates as well as B-school professionals like business school, graduate students. One of the biggest things that I found that made the transition easier for me when I was in the States was, again, my communication skills and having the right attitude. And a lot of people are talking about technical skills. Not enough people are talking about... And of course, we have corporates complaining about...
soft skills, what do you mean? Like how to open a door?
We're talking about
verbal,
non-verbal communication. How do you conduct yourself in an interview? How do you conduct yourself in a meeting?
Like what would be appropriate? Were you to scratch yourself while talking to someone in an interview? Is that wrong or right? Because in India, I think it's right.
It depends on where you scratch yourself, Cyrus. You scratch your arm, that's fine. If you're scratching...
what if I scratch my arm but I use his arm to scratch? Is that allowed?
If you don't want the job, then I think that's a great way to go.
These are relevant questions. People listening are going to be, Siddharth, please help me. This is free. Okay, no, so jokes apart, you were doing soft skill training,
Correct.
which I think in India we don't take seriously at all, right?
Absolutely
Everybody's
not.
very into their books. As you said, the technical skill and know-how is always good. Guys who achieve, super achieve. But they don't have that PR skill. They don't have that interactive skill.
A lot of what we talk about is how do you sell yourself. We're talking about, what is, for example, I'll take you as an example, if that's okay. What is Cyrus Brocha's personal brand? And does anybody want to buy it, most importantly?
At the moment, the market is looking a little dull, but could you get back to us? We'll just see how things go.
Exactly. So, we talk about verbal, non-verbal communication. We talk about negotiation skills. We talk about presentation skills.
So you're teaching people who are already in the corporate line, or you're teaching more the business schools who are about to get into the corporate line?
Actually, both.
Okay.
Because you'll be amazed.
But do people, are they recipients of your talk? Are they happy to receive this talk when they're in the middle of their career? Or do they get like ego and hey, you don't tell me, yaar, mere ko malum hai, I know how to talk to people.
And that's exactly what it is, because a lot of people come in with preconceived notions saying that, listen, I've survived for so long and I've got promoted several times.
Exactly.
Which may or may not be because I was great at what I was doing, but I just happened to be the only person that stuck around.
And my father-in-law owns a company, but that's beside the point.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but you'd be amazed at how much people want to better themselves.
And I think this is really catching on in India now.
It is. This
sort of refresher courses, sort of where's the weak point in the corporate ladder.
Exactly.
Can I be part of this whole deal?
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, I could pretend to have some skills.
We can't let you be the face of the organization,
no,
Cyrus,
God, no.
for obvious reasons.
It's soft skills. Yeah. I'm very touchy about the word soft. I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're doing that, but actually your heart is in something else. Let's move to that now. So while this is you made the transition, you've come to India, you've returned, you're doing the corporate trainings, you're using your skills in a sense, not letting that go to waste, all your training. But there's something else you want to do. What is that?
So the passion project that I've been pursuing for the past couple of months is actually a company that me and a friend...
Okay, there's no sex involved in this, right?
Absolutely not.
Go ahead.
We're talking about passion for sports.
Passion for sports. And
so we've started a company called sportsfund.in. So if you say it fast enough, it sounds like sports funding.
Oh, sportsfund.in.
Yeah.
And you plugged it beautifully and they'll remember it for life because it sounds like sports funding. See, this is a technique that your soft skills give you.
Absolutely.
Now, everybody who's heard this program knows your byline for life. But can I just digress again? So, growing up in India, were you into sports? Where does the sports connection come from?
I think one of the privileges that I had growing up as an army brat was having access to all of these clubs and, like you said, the gymkhanas.
Yeah.
Where you have access to badminton courts, tennis courts,
swimming pools. You guys have the biggest houses and Ardalies who will catch the ball. I don't think any army kid has ever fielded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you go out and you see a lot of people that are not as privileged as you were growing up, and they don't even have access to basic facilities.
Were you good at sport?
I was mediocre at best.
What was your best sport?
I'd probably say
And remember that masturbation is not a sport. I have to bring this up from time to time because people don't believe it.
In that case, I'd say tennis.
Mixed doubles. So tennis was your thing. Did you play any level? Were you
No, I played basketball briefly for when I was in school. I played tennis briefly.
So you represented school and college at basketball?
I represented school, yes, not college.
Okay, not bad. Not bad. So you had some sort of... There was a moment when you could have been a serious sportsman, then perhaps it sort of evaporated. Exactly. As it happens very often. I could have been a female wrestler, but they couldn't get the right outfit. Things didn't work out. Yeah.
I'm sure that was the only reason.
That was it. That was it. There's absolutely no other skill. No, but let's get back to this whole thing. So it suddenly struck you that we're a huge country and our whole sports programming has never been sort of streamlined. There's no process in place.
Exactly, and and we're trying our best to at least have some sort of professional outlook. It's actually going to be a tech platform for athletes that are coming up, as well as ones that are at a certain stage in their career where they say, "Listen, we're playing at the national level."
So how do you source these guys? You use Google Maps and look down from somewhere. All right, over Chandapur village, third down from the right is young Bunty, who you can see is playing cricket and scoring runs without using a bat.
We're actually going to have...
Perhaps is a freak. Yeah.
Yeah, if Google Maps was the only way to go. But we're actually going to have, a very, very well-qualified panel which is going to select people, of course, because you need to do background checks. You need to know that these are people that are serious about professions. You can't just have somebody collect the money and then, go to Goa with his friends and party all weekend.
Which he can do later once he's a superstar anyway.
Exactly. But on his own dime, as opposed to collecting money from people and then using that money to pay for...
So is this going to be like a pan-India sort of movement? You think you have the software to, look at everybody all over? Is that ever possible?
So we're going to start small, obviously, with the technology platform. Get a few athletes on board, have a few success stories, and then who knows, how far we go.
Has this been done before at all?
It has not. This is we've seen it done briefly in different crowdsourcing platforms, here and there, but this is going to be the only one that's totally dedicated.
China's done a version of it. Give me your second kid and I'll make him a sportsman, something like that. But it's not exactly what you want to do. And don't ask for every second Indian kid. In fact, don't ever ask for Indian kids. All right.
I think the motivation involved is definitely different there.
Okay, but you haven't started yet. We're still in the planning stage, the pre-production stage.
Exactly. So we have the concept, we have the business plan, we put together.
You're looking for money, right?
We're looking for money.
Amit, get our checkbook. We'll do what we can. We'll take a break. When I said checkbook, they said take a break for some reason. That's our setup. We'll come back. Lots more to talk about. Siddharth Vaze, of course, going from a 4G kid traveling all over India to now someone who wants to find the next Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Saina Nehwal, Sania Grewal, or one of those Saina mixes that plays one of those racket sports when we come back.
Cyrus says, stop picking your nose, listen to this ad.
This show is brought to you by iVape.in, and I spoke to Amit Jain, the founder. So you've come up for the layman with this iVape.in, of course, products. And what is the success rate?
In India, this is an early start. I think we are not even started. And we are the only brand who's coming up with this approach. We are making the liquids in India with materials imported from US. And the hardware comes from China. And we make sure that everything is well tested.
Visit iVape.in to use the code Cyrus Says to get 15% off on your purchase. iVape.in.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Right, back here with Siddharth Vaze and lots more to discuss about his quest. It's a very interesting life. Most people live a life, at least in my father's time, a lot of the people you'd look around you, the elderly gentlemen, would go to a company, work from 24 till 59, then they'd be given that gold watch, literally, in our sort of, upper middle class sort of subculture. But now your story is very interesting. You're, in just 15, 20 years of a working life, you've gone through one, in another country to one profession, you've come back here, you're starting another profession, and you still have a certain hobby profession in the background as well.
Correct, Cyrus. I think I blame it on my being a Gemini and having multiple personalities.
I married a Gemini.
Really?
So
you know how easily bored we get. So.
Yeah, he left me. She's there though.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, my father's Gemini as well. Don't talk to me about Geminis, males and females. I can't bear them. Do you have the same issues that we have with Geminis, which is that they get angry at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and forget that at 4? So that whole fight never happened.
It's actually 3 and 3:15. It's not even 4 o'clock.
I thought it was like a joke or a stereotype, but it's actually true. When you marry them and you live with them, you understand.
We're so easily distracted that literally it's not even anger is not a powerful.
You're telling me I've been asking you questions you haven't answered already. It's been going on for the last half an hour. Right. And unmarried Siddharth Vaze, I may add.
Correct.
And looking for someone?
Absolutely.
All right. So if you are a former Miss India from 1999 to 2013, send in your pictures as well as your bank account statements, and only for verification so we know you're the real person. And let's see if Siddharth Vaze likes you. His soft skills will be used to woo you and make you into Mrs. Vaze. Vaze good?
Vaze is great. Vaze is great.
Vaze good enough? All right. Okay, let's talk a little bit about now the other things that have been going on. You've come back to India in what, a couple of years back now?
I just came back about 11 months ago.
11 months, so your bags are still to come, obviously. And you've noticed all kinds of changes. Have you noticed this sort of right-wing rearing its head from time to time and this intolerance that we seem to be, or is it just my imagination because there's more TV channels and radio channels and things like that? For example, this very week we had a beautiful moment when this young gentleman called Mr. Kulkarni, who was at one point appointed as L.K. Advani's right-hand man, when L.K. Advani had a job, this sadly he doesn't now, well, he had this terrible moment at the press club where somebody came and inked him. I won't name the Shiv Sena because that's not right. But so this group came and they put ink all over his face. And Mr. Kulkarni, I thought he was fantastic. He stood there looking very composed and calm like a martyr. And did you notice? And this, I just can't get my mind around this and I don't want to make light of the situation. But he used the mobile phone fully painted black and had a long conversation. Probably they were discussing, so what picture is that? 7:30 today. I just want to know once I finish the press conference. And I just had this absolutely normal conversation on the news channels, completely with a black face with ink and a black mobile phone with ink. And it's very surreal, this whole thing happening now as it is almost on a monthly basis in our country. Did you notice this at all, Siddharth?
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about 15 seconds of fame and people are literally jostling each other out of the limelight to get their 15 seconds of fame. So I'm not sure, if he took advantage of the situation that presented it, but to each his own, right?
Yeah, but you come from this so-called great liberal land, so they say. I don't know. They stopped entering many places. They kept asking me for ID, and I was 22 years old. I felt terrible. Now I wouldn't. I'd love it if they
You're
stopped
still
me.
22, Cyrus.
I know, but now now you're too old. Then you're too young. But it just doesn't make any sense. No, but coming back to this whole thing, do you feel we're being repressed a little bit culturally? That we aren't allowed to, say what we want to? Do you get a feeling that we are being told what to do?
Well, I think it's a combination of, like you said, too many TV channels, too many media outlets. I mean, things are being covered more than they ever were in the history of the country.
Right.
So, of course, everybody feels it a lot. And
obviously surplus ink. We have no problem with ink. That's one thing that's really...
Was it ink or paint, or was it a combination of both?
Oh,
okay, it was.
Now, paint, then you have to hire an artist. It takes too long. In fact, I was told there was a 7th Shiv Sainik who didn't make it in time. He came 2 minutes late and there was no face left to paint or to ink. So he was very upset because he comes from Malad. There was a train problem and he couldn't catch the train.
Hopefully he still got paid for the day, though.
He's so upset he's quit and joined the RSS. He's like, I can't do this anymore. This is nonsense. Yeah. But I'm just asking you, the perspective of yours will be a little different because you've had that gap.
Of course.
Do you feel that we are at all getting, controlled or, marginalized as far as free voice goes, free expression goes?
Well, I hate to get all, politician.
Your undies in a twist is the American phrase. Yeah.
But in a democratic country, I think the basic right of people to express their opinion in an adult manner, without offending anybody else, I don't think should be offending or offensive to anybody else. Of course, when you start crossing people's personal spaces and boundaries, that's where the problem starts. Because nobody really cares who threw the first stone or what was the first instigation that happened. But unfortunately, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, it's also this anti-Pakistan thing which a lot of people do, which don't have any personal sort of issue at stake there. But you as a Fauji kid, obviously, and your dad must have seen either action or some sort of action, or obviously was under pressure many times in his career. So what do you make of it? Because I find the army people are a little more generous towards the neighbors than the non-army people are.
And the reason for that is, and yes, my father, like a lot of other fathers, had to make a lot of sacrifices, for the country. Mm-hmm. And for everybody out there that has so much pent up anger and aggression in them, and that are saying, "Oh, we need an outlet." I'm sure the army is looking for volunteers, especially in Siachen.
I'm saying form a cell, a Siachen cell, 2 days training. I can be the commandant. Give them one sweater each, a pair of gloves, and one stick, and go there and fight.
Exactly.
Die for the country, and we'll attend the funeral.
We're talking about 21,000 feet, and you're putting your weapons
Fun
in boiling
for the whole
water.
family. Who wouldn't do that?
I think we should print brochures.
But it's amazing. I understand from all the Fauji kids' parents who I know, rather the army officers that I know have met, they always have a far more kinder approach to this whole situation than people who've never gone to battle, never will go to battle, and actually don't understand the history of India and Pakistan.
Because, Cyrus, sitting in Bombay and enjoying 40-degree weather and commenting about what the neighbor is doing and being selective about it.
Yeah.
So essentially what you're saying is cricket is not okay, but a writer coming and presenting his book from across the border is fine.
Yeah.
Or you're saying Pakistani actors and background singers are okay, but you can't have a play.
Right.
So, I mean, who makes the rules or who draws the line?
Absolutely.
So I'm sure this group is as confused as the rest of the country.
My biggest fear, we're going to take the same attitude with China in a couple of years, and then they're going to ban Chinese food. And if they ban Chinese food, I'm quitting. I'm leaving India. You do not touch my Chinese food. Never touch my Chinese food.
I don't think the food that we eat in India can actually be categorized as Chinese food. Because
they don't know about it yet. We've already taken the monopoly. It's Chinese. And let me tell you, the Pakistani food, which is also Indian food, the Peshawari food, Northwest Frontier food, whatever name you want to give it. What about that? We should be allowed to eat that.
Where do we draw the line?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
where do we draw the line?
I completely see your outrage, and
I don't have a problem with people objecting. I just don't like the violence. I'm not a fan of violence. And you, coming from an army background, know that violence really should be the last resort. I think more than any of these people. Let's not preach, since I've not even been a watchman. Although I was in NCC, does that count?
How long were you there, and did you leave?
They threw me out 3 months. But let me tell you, and I swear, Siddharth Vaze, this is true. They made me sign, and my mother had tears in her eyes. I was 12 years old. Made me sign a form which said, if your son dies in battle, active combat duty, you will be paid 87 rupees. The year was, I think, 1985, 6 or something like that. But I thought she cried, not because I would die and that idea came to her head, but because my son's life is only worth 87 rupees. At least round it off to 100. I remember my father arguing. But yes, this is
the only reason you joined was because they allowed you to wear shorts, correct?
Yeah, because I wanted to escape moral science. If you do moral science, you sit in the class. NCC apparently was outside, but they were so irritating. They made me march half an hour, and if you talk 3 or 4 times, they kept punishing you.
Wow.
So before I know it, I was like, they said,
and you lasted 3 months.
3 months, but then they asked me to go back to moral science. They said, really, your morality is the issue. Just go there. So I went.
How's that working out for you?
Oh, I passed the class.
Okay.
I went to the back. A lovely girl, Parina Kolabawala, was sitting next to me. I'd copy her notes, as most boys do in schools and colleges in India, and I passed. I think I got more than her, and I copied all her notes.
Maybe your handwriting was better. I remember we used to get extra.
I think the teachers are all sexist. Because it's amazing, in the co-ed schools, the girls all do better, but the boys all achieve more. It just seemed to be like a pattern. I don't know why that happened. I take that back before I get hammered for that one. All right, we're building bridges here with neighbors and friends and genders, but there's lots more to talk about. And there's one particular question I want to ask you before we wind up this section. I've researched this thanks to Amit Doshi, my wild producer, who he alone can find this on the net. 1/3 of vegetarians in UK eat meat when they get drunk. Now, as a foreigner, as a representative of the Western world, can you explain this? They're vegetarian, but they eat meat when they drink. What does that mean?
Cyrus, after alcohol, literally you eat whatever you can get your hands on.
Oh, is it sexual?
So, I don't think so.
Oh, God, no. Yeah. Let's take one step away from the mic. Each, breathe deeply, and go again. So all I can figure out is that, you're absolutely drunk. You don't know what you're eating. Has that happened to you?
Or only the non-veg shops that are open. I mean, all the vegetarian shops like good.
But then they compromise on their morality and just say, what the hell, I'm hungry. Or nobody's watching.
Any port in a storm, right? So.
Oh, Baba, you're back home. You're back home, Siddharth Vaze. Do you have any nice stories from your past? You've told us one goat story, but something wild now. Before we go into the next segment, from either your bachelor days in college and school there, rather, and also your days as Imperial Ambassador to the New York Palace Hotel.
So, like I told you, we had more than our fair share of royalty coming and staying with us from the Middle East, and we had a queen from actually a kingdom come and stay, and her assistant said, we'd be staying for a couple of weeks, just put us down and we'll let you know when we're ready to leave. So they started with 30 rooms. And
for one queen?
For one queen, and of course her entourage. So she had, of course, the best of everything. So they have Israeli bodyguards, they have English nannies, they have Indian and Filipino maids.
Why? I want to be accountants, doctors, drivers. It's maids.
Yeah, no.
It's maids.
And she was having such a great time, and this was summer in New York, which is always a beautiful time of the year. She ended up calling her sister in London and saying, listen, I'm staying at the New York Palace. They're taking really good care of me. Do you want to come and join me? So her sister comes with her entourage of, say, another 50 rooms.
What are you saying?
Long story short, they ended up calling a couple more sisters. They ended up staying for 6 months with a total of 300 rooms.
And that is how the Arabic Spice Girls were formed. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a quick break and then come back.
Cyrus Says, ask me anything. If you want Cyrus to answer your questions on air, send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com. If you send us a link to a sound file on SoundCloud, we'll even play you asking the question in your own voice. And that's what Cyrus says.
All right, Siddharth Vaze and me exchanging names and numbers of young women who worked in his hotels, who he keeps in touch with for various reasons, mostly professional. But we do have joining us now our producer Amit Doshi, who celebrates his birthday many months later. And he's going to take us through the AMA. Siddharth, you know what an AMA is, right?
Of course.
And we've got questions from all over the world because you're a international... You're a pan-India citizen as well as a pan-America, pan-world citizen. So you're like a real global person. All right.
Okay, so the first question we have is from Mihir Darji. The question was from Chavi. It was actually for Chavi, but I thought it would be kind of appropriate since she's not
I'll
there.
lighten my voice and I'll change my poise. And
the question was, how do you manage to sit through an entire recording? Do you ever just feel like getting up and leaving? Which I think she just did.
I think by her not being here, she's actually already making a statement and answering the question.
The lack of respecting this question you haven't picked up yet. Let me tell you what it is. The guy's not even mentioned my name. He's like, just want to leave the recording. He's not even what's his name. Just leave the recording is good enough. So for me, this is amongst the most disrespectful questions.
I think it was too.
We should give a prize to this person. Mihir, wherever you are,
Darji.
You'll get a double 2-hour telecast, or rather 2-hour version of this episode just for you. And Chavi sends her compliments, but at the moment she's lost. As we record this, we have no idea where she is. She's gone to the States, and let's hope she comes back.
Undisclosed location and all that.
Yes, and looking for a husband, I'm told. Republicans are ripe for the picking.
Okay. The next question is from the only listener. Dear Cyrus.
This is what I like about my mom, Siddharth. You know, the Indian moms are like that. They always back you.
She never stopped loving you, did she?
No.
Yeah.
Do you agree that we have become a generation who listens to comedians and laughs at politicians?
This is a far too important question to throw at me. I'll give this to Siddharth Vaze, again, who climbs 2 worlds or straddles 2 ponies, whichever is more sexual. Go ahead.
Dear listener, I think more than anything else, it says a lot about the comedians and the quality of comedians that we have nowadays and the quality of, sadly, politicians that we have nowadays.
Although I feel the hairstyles of Indian politicians have improved tremendously.
Absolutely.
You go back in time and you see what they do with their hair and features right now. It's really good. I think aesthetically we're a better political race now than we were 10 years ago.
Much better groomed too. I mean,
But the comedians are ugly. I'll be frank. I'm among the better looking, so you can... And I'm not even allowed on a visual format, as you know, from this show. So Indian comedians, buck up. My point, don't look at the audience when you're doing your thing. Far more satisfying for all.
Okay. The next question is from Briefless Attorney. Can Board Barocha do that's you, Board Barocha, he's created this. Yeah. Can you do an entire episode of Cyrus Says in a Parsi accent? It would sound fantastic.
Doing a Parsi accent is not going to be a problem, Dikra. The problem is that after some time the guests will get irritated, because the guests want some kind of respect, not some kind of caricature going on in the background. Of course, if he comes to one of the bags and finds a person like this, he'll know it's not a caricature but a reality. And that is the way it is. So, so karo. Mastak ba bimari cha.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
And you're appealing to an international audience, so I'm not sure a lot of people...
We've lost our 3 Filipinos early in the piece when you went out with a lady. Chinese food is gone. Pakistanis have left. Let's see what we have.
We have nothing. We have only the Indian people left.
We have nothing.
The Indian people in India, because many have followed the PM and not returned.
Okay, yeah, that's true too. Okay, and the last question is from Pallavi Kulkarni, Planless
Oh, this is
Planner.
about that... Mr. Kulkarni Senior's issue, is it?
No, this is not about that.
The ink blot test, as we call it, for writers in India.
Okay.
Oh, that's not it. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't that at all. The question was, what do your wife and kids have to say about the show? She should be one of your guests.
My wife never watches anything I've done from my early MTV days. Not a play, not a movie, not a TV show, not an event. And that's why we stay married. I, on the other hand, have no idea what she does, which I think I should now pay attention to because the internet allows you access to people from the other gender, and I think my wife seems fairly satisfied. It is not me. So now that you mentioned it, I think I do need to work on that act a little bit. But yeah, we just don't. She doesn't really follow anything.
What do you tell her when you're going for work? Or I mean, not that you can call this work, but
well, I just say that the condoms are for an experiment with fruit. Other than that,
every day,
every single day. So, my experiments with fruit. And no, this is not a pun on anybody else's book. Please.
Okay. All right, that's all we have for the AMA questions.
All right, Amit, thank you so much. But we need to say bye to Siddharth Vaze in a nice way and once again mention his new venture, which is
sportsfun.in.
And if you say it fast, it's
sports funding,
which is what you're looking for.
Yes.
So if you have money out there, it's a noble venture. He wants some money in his pocket to help find the next Dhonis, the next Mirzas, the next Nehwals, and what have you. Also the next Amrit Rajs. I like Leander and Mahesh, but they got to get their act together. So in the meantime, I'll go back to the old.
And work on their tan, apparently.
Oh my God! You leave no stone unturned, do you? How many friends you got, Siddharth?
None.
I can see. Yeah. All right, with apologies and love. Bye bye.
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
All views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily the views and opinions of the IndusVox Media Network or any of our show advertisers or sponsors. No animals were harmed in the making of this podcast, obviously.